I don't want to be strong like man who look pretty. I want to be strong like bitch that fight bears in the forest.
Yeah, this is our last episode of our Holiday Stressors series. We've done a series.
We've done a series.
Episode 9.
And it's the last episode of the year.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
I think it's fitting that the last episode should be about alcohol. Last episode of the year. Got a little alcohol. It's right in between Christmas and New Year's. So
well, it will be when this comes out.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you to everyone who has been listening during the holidays, which is like, it's a busy time of year, and you've taken 30 minutes out of your day to give us a listen each week. So thank you. We really appreciate that. We've loved hearing all of the feedback and the different ways that people have been enjoying the podcast. One of my favorite ways that somebody was listening was building Legos while they were listening to our podcast. And I think that's probably the way that everyone should listen to it. But that's just me personally, because I love Legos.
You do. Yeah. You do. It's a little much sometimes.
My Legos?
Yeah.
I have a lot of Legos. I don't have as much as a lot of people, but I have a lot of holiday themed Legos. Go back to episode. What episode was that where we realized that I was the holiday bully? Everyone should enjoy the holidays as much as I do. Hey, come on, dogs. Let's go.
Yeah. So this last episode of the year of the holiday series is about alcohol. Obviously, the first time we have been drinking on the show.
We are marked as explicit.
We are. So we have touched on this before in various episodes, probably. So a lot of us, ourselves included, look forward to celebrating during the holidays. But some people can overindulge a little more, likely to drink over their or beyond their limits during the holidays, or when celebrating, especially this time of year over other times of the year with the holidays.
Maybe other than St. Patrick's Day, which is like
that's its own thing. That's a whole other episode. That's March's problem.
Yeah, right.
So, as humans, we like to consume alcohol. Still having that problem.
I don't think the scotch is going to make it any better.
Make it better. It's not going to make it better. Between my day job and the episode we just recorded, I've talked a lot today. So I'm a little talked out, but here we go. We're going to do it anyways. So we as humans like to drink, to celebrate when we're sad, when we're bored. I don't know. So there's a lot of big emotions that can be tied to drinking alcohol. And the holidays.
And the stress of the holidays.
Now, we're not sitting here saying that everybody who drinks has a problem. Like, obviously, that's not what we're saying, because we love a good bourbon, a good scotch. I think that's what we're drinking, respectively, or a glass of wine, which is my usual go-to. Which is surprising that we've not had that on the show yet. We're 9 episodes in.
I think it's February. I think we should have in February for Self-Love Month.
Just wine.
Yeah.
Every episode.
Yeah, just red wine.
I mean, my wine wife is going to be on one of the episodes.
That's true.
So
yeah,
it makes sense. Shelby's real wife is my wine wife.
I'm Sydney, but that's okay.
Oh, did I call you Shelby?
It happens all the time.
Damn it.
I'm so used to it.
I'm usually pretty good.
I don't even catch it.
I don't catch it either. I do that a lot, I think.
Everyone does. It's all right. It's not the alcohol.
At least I didn't introduce you as the wrong person at the beginning of the show.
That is true.
We've done that before. So anyways, we enjoy a nice glass of something. And we like to share drinks with each other, with our friends, our family. We give it as gifts. So we recognize that while we enjoy it, and it's absolutely possible, appropriate, I don't know, to enjoy alcohol without it becoming a problem for somebody. It's also important to remember that it has an effect on our health and wellness.
Yes, it does. Alcohol, as it metabolizes, does a ton of things. It affects your sleep. It affects, obviously, cognition, all kinds of things. So we're a health and wellness podcast, and it is what we promote. And we also recognize that we're humans, and while it has an interaction with those things, we also need to be able to do the things that we enjoy. And if having a scotch or a bourbon is something that you enjoy, you don't want to go to the extremes.
Right.
If you don't have a problem with it, cutting it out might not be the answer to making all your fitness gains.
Right.
There's probably a lot of other things that are in play there. So this isn't going to be an episode where it's like drinking is bad. That's not what this episode is. So if you think that that's what we're going to be talking about, you should probably tune out, because it's mostly about how we
don't tune out.
Or don't do that.
I mean,
we're going to take a different
if you want it to be doom and gloom, that's not us. Go find someone else. But
we're going to talk about alcohol and what we enjoy about it, how we do it responsibly.
That's the key point.
And how it ties into health and wellness. So that's what this episode is all about. Not a doom and gloom. Alcohol is bad and you should never touch it. That is not what this is.
Everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation.
Except cocaine.
Okay, so to start, Amber.
Oh, no.
I love story time with Amber. It's the worst Christmas or the worst children's Christmas story time with Amber.
Oh no. Turn your children away.
Okay, so what are your favorite types of alcohol, Amber?
Wine, which we have already discussed. I mean, I'll try just about anything. Except vodka. I don't really do vodka much anymore. Those early 20s were not kind.
Yeah. So wine is actually shown to be beneficial in moderation, right? It helps with heart health, lowers cholesterol. So, like, specifically red wine.
Yeah.
We're not just boozing up white wine spritzers, like
what?
But like there are some things with wine that can be really beneficial. I always like to say, like, light beer after a workout, it can be really helpful because it's got sugar, carbohydrates, liquid. Like, you're replenishing some of those things that you've lost with a light beer. I think.
What if you don't like a light beer?
Well, I don't know about that. I think just drink water then.
I like a nice dark stout.
I think that's maybe not right after a very intense workout or like hot yoga. That sounds awful.
Whew. That's where that white wine spritzer comes in.
Yes, exactly. Cool. So would you say, like, you're kind of like, if you are hanging out, maybe you're at a party, maybe you're going out, like, is wine always your go-to, or do you try other things?
That's a good question, because it is a little situational. So if I'm just like hanging out at home, my go-to drink is usually wine. Typically red wine, because, you know, taking care of my heart.
Yeah, heart health. I like it.
Obviously, Shelby and I,
wine wives,
drink plenty of wine.
Yeah.
When we get together. But yeah, when I go out, it's not usually wine.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it depends on where I go and what we're doing. Like I said, I like a nice dark stout. That's mainly the beer that I drink.
Which is relatively, I would say, in the last several years, kind of your newer thing. Because when I first met you, you did not do beer. You would do cider.
Yeah. I love a good cider.
Yeah. So the beer thing has been a new introduction to
It
your
is.
palate.
It is a new introduction, and I only like the ones that are very heavy and very sweet and super overpowering for everybody else at the table.
It's true. Usually aged in like a bourbon barrel with like
Ooh.
chocolate or cinnamon. Like they're intense beers.
They are, and I love them. But they're definitely a winter drink.
Yes.
So my drinking habits are very seasonal and very situational.
Okay. Well, that's probably for the best. You're not pounding dark, heavy stouts in 100-degree weather.
Oh dear God, no. That's a gin and tonic weather, or a white wine, or rosé.
Gin and tonic, slept on. Everybody thinks of it as like old lady drink.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good. And recently just thought about like incorporating more gin into around the holidays because that juniper, that piney kind of taste works really well with like cranberry. Such a good combination. Gin and cranberry.
I bet that's better than a vodka cranberry.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And like you can also get some like really floral gins and things. So like depending on what the vibe you're going for. Okay, so your favorite type of alcohol is situational and seasonal dependent. Cool. If you hear any like on that audio, that was because Benny just walked up and stiffed the microphone. So
we did put it at nose level. That's on us.
Yep.
Great.
Cool.
That'll be fun.
So situational and seasonal dependent. I like it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. All right. What?
Are you going to tell us what your favorite alcohol is?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna pick
You're
something
so offended by that
I will
question.
always go with. Like, just if I'm no matter where I am, it's kind of like the same option. I love a good bourbon, and I will generally, if I'm like hanging out, it's something to sip on, those kinds of things. But I can usually find a good beer wherever I go.
Yeah.
So I would say like favorite type of alcohol is going to be like beer. When I was younger, my early 20s, I was in places that had really good craft beers coming up. They were some it was that the start of the craft beer kind of craze revolution. There had been really good craft beers. Sierra Nevada was doing it. Dogfish Head was doing it, but it wasn't quite as popular as it is now.
Yeah.
But I was in New England, which had a lot of great small kind of micro craft breweries that were doing fun things. So I can usually find that. And I do like bitter flavor profiles. So because I like bitter, I can usually find something because like the hops don't bother me.
Yeah.
So I can do an IPA. I also like heavier like coffee flavors and that kind of stuff. So I can do a stout. I like weedy flavors in the summertime. So like, Belgiums and like those kinds of things, or Hefeweizens. Like I can always find a beer no matter where I go. Like it doesn't matter what you have on the menu. I can find a beer that I will drink if I'm out or at home walking through a beer store. Doesn't matter. So that would be my favorite type probably.
There you go.
Yeah, just accessibility.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, Amber, we're going to switch, not just to alcohol, we're going to go specifically into cocktails, because I've gotten into cocktails recently.
I know you have, and I love it.
It's an art. It's like cooking, but you're talking about complex flavors and doing all of that kind of stuff, too. So, what's your favorite cocktail?
I don't know what my favorite cocktail is. Okay, what would I be content to drink all year round?
Yeah.
Honestly, probably a margarita.
Nice.
I am always down for a margarita.
I did not expect that. I don't know what I expected.
I was going to ask what you thought my favorite.
I don't know, because like you do tend to like bourbons. You tend to.
I love a bourbon.
But I think we've learned a little bit more about tequila, and like it, it has some complexity in the flavors. And what I've learned about you is that you actually really do like complex flavors, right?
I do.
Wine has a lot of complexity, and they're all so unique. stouts again always have a lot of complex flavors. So yeah, I think that's interesting.
Yeah. I've always enjoyed tequila. I've recently gotten into better tequila than in my younger years and realized that it is actually a really lovely sipping drink. And yeah, I always love a nice margarita. What is your favorite cocktail, Sydney?
My favorite cocktail, if you had asked me this question maybe 2 months ago, I would say it would have been a tie between an old fashioned and a dark and stormy, because I feel like you can't mess those up. Like it's equal parts, like ginger beer is gonna mask so much of like if you're using a lesser quality rum. But I think if I really had to narrow it down and pick my favorite cocktail now, it would be a gin and tonic.
Oh, okay.
Because I am really starting to explore gins. I think they're great, and I like that you can. I always thought they were a summer thing, and now I'm figuring out that it can be mixed and made with a bunch of different things. And
Ooh.
yeah,
okay.
Feeling very British.
Did you watch the Great British Baking Show's holiday episodes?
I should do that. I haven't done that yet. Yeah, so I would say gin and tonic now.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've gotten in more into drinking like bourbons and scotches neat, so like not so much a cocktail. But gin, I don't drink neat. I think there's one gin I've ever had that I have had neat, and that's been like a Tomcat gin, so where it's aged in bourbon barrels. So for a cocktail, I would say a gin and tonic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so during the holidays, do you notice yourself drinking more, drinking less, about the same?
That's a good question. Maybe a little bit more, but probably not that much, honestly. Like I already, this sounds somewhat bad, but like I already drink regularly. So it's not like I never drink during the year and then all of a sudden start at the holidays. So I think I just maintain my usual routine.
But you're not like binge. You don't see like a huge spike around the holidays, because a lot of people will do kind of what you're saying is like they kind of have a baseline, and then you see that just kind of like snowball because it seems to always be available.
Well, yeah,
whatever event
you're going to more events, you have extra stressors, which sometimes what did you throw at me?
We use alcohol to cope.
Yes, we use alcohol to cope. And I'm not traveling during the holidays, so I don't have anything to cope with. No. I mean, it's funny because it's true. No, I think it doesn't ramp up too much. I mean, I do a little more sometimes with you.
So you're saying I'm the problem?
No, I think we sometimes gather more as like a friend group, or go out and do something. So like sometimes that's a little more just hanging out more with people. Yeah. But like when I go visit family, my dad's family doesn't drink, so we don't drink during that time. And I always forget the mini flask. So there's that.
Yes, Amber has a mini flask.
It's so cute.
It's like
it's the cutest thing. I should take it out more. I don't know where. I should just take it with me wherever I go. Yeah. So no, I guess I don't really notice a big uptick.
That's good. Yeah. I think that's what you want. That's what we should strive for, right? Like maintain your baseline, whatever your baseline is. Yeah. Right. Unless it's overconsumption, and then maybe you want to dial that back.
That's another episode.
Yeah, that's another episode. I would say that for me, I actually in recent years, probably in the last 5 years, I've become really aware of like health and wellness things. So like around the holidays, I strive not to consume. So I probably end up consuming less during the holidays than I do the rest of the year because I'm just like more aware of it.
Right.
I'm like hyper aware of it. But which I do enjoy a drink, but I find ways to like kind of like sneak and do like the tips and tricks. Go back to, I don't know, episode 4 or something. Yeah, of holiday landmines.
Yes.
So I would say that I probably end up drinking a little less during the holidays.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So what have you noticed about alcohol, like when you consume alcohol and like how it impacts your health or your wellness or your fitness? Loaded question.
I don't know. I feel like on a regular basis, I don't feel like it affects me that much. Like my one glass of wine a night doesn't do that much. I don't know if that's because it really isn't doing anything or because that's my norm now. I don't know.
That's your baseline?
It's my baseline. I mean, I guess I could do an experiment and find out how it affects me, but like feels like a lot of work. I don't know. I mean, obviously, if I drink a lot, if I have, an extra 2 or 3 drinks or whatever, because I'm out or there's something going on, I think I definitely don't sleep as well and definitely feel more sluggish the next day. Like I just don't feel quite as good. I mean, I'm always tired, but that's a whole other issue.
Yeah. I think it was interesting. We had the Whoop for a little while, and what I realized was, I think because processing sugar for me has always been an underlying thing, and I've gotten kind of a hold on. When I was younger, they kind of thought I was diabetic. One, because of the rate in which I consume water. I was always thirsty, and so sugar, glucose is a big factor. And so when I have a drink, plays a big factor in the quality of sleep that I get, even down to like how my joints feel. Like I'll feel if I've had like too much beer or anything like that, like my hands will be a little bit more tight and just like feel kind of achy and things like that. So it definitely impacts. But if I wasn't looking for it, if I wasn't tuned into it, I would probably not notice it.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot with people, is that they're like, oh, like I can have a couple beers and I'm totally fine, but they're not really tuned into what is happening. Like they're not paying attention to their sleep quality on a daily basis to know that that one night was outside of their norm.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
That would be one of my maybe takeaway from this episode is like alcohol, not all bad for all of us.
No.
But if you are paying attention, you should maybe take some time to think about and reflect on how it's impacting you and what your goals are and those kinds of things. Because if you're not paying attention to those things, it could be really easy to overlook.
Right. That makes sense.
Okay, this is a big question, and we probably all should think about this. Has there ever been a time in your life when you thought you might have a problem with alcohol? As we both respectively sip our alcoholic beverages.
Think about that one. I don't think I ever had a problem with alcohol in terms of reaching the point of alcoholism or being an alcoholic. I think I was drinking too much in my younger years. I had, during that time of year, I think we talked about this on another episode, about sleep. When I was working for the portrait studio and doing school pictures, and I had a second job as well, and I was hanging out with some people that were not great for me. And we would, get together and drink 3 bottles of wine in a night. And that was not a good choice because I was not eating properly. I was not sleeping properly. And I was consuming at least a bottle by myself.
So you were really setting yourself up for success.
Yeah. And like it wasn't every night. It was 2 to 3 nights a week that we were doing this. And I don't think it ever reached the point of it's a problem because I'm an alcoholic. I think it reached a point of everything that I'm doing right now in my life is a problem and not good for me. But yeah, I think I overindulged when I was younger and before I learned my limits and what actually felt good outside of the situation that I was in, because everyone was drinking and overindulging, or I was upset about something, or I was too exhausted and hungry to regulate my emotions, so I just drank them.
Coping skill. It was a coping mechanism.
For a little while it was.
Yeah.
And maybe that is a problem. I think it was a problem, but it was never a I need to drink problem. It was a I'm in this environment and drinking too much.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that. I feel like, especially in that time in our lives where our brains haven't quite fully developed, where we're still trying to regulate like teenage emotions, but now we're an adult and we have access to alcohol and to people who are in similar places in their lives. So it's easy to make that connection and the bonding factors that we can all drink. Yeah.
And that's what it was. Like I wasn't drinking when I was alone on nights when I didn't go out and hang out with people. It was that social environment that I didn't quite know how to navigate without the alcohol, or being able to set a boundary of, I don't want to drink this much.
I think that happens now even to older adults, like at a holiday party. That's for your spouse's, work and navigating that dynamic. What's the first thing? Oh, let me get a drink. That'll loosen me up. Like those, it definitely is something that I don't think is just relegated to early 20-somethings. I mean, a lot of people, that's kind of like a good default. Not a good default, but a default nonetheless.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a bad default, because that is still my default. Like I went to an event the other night at Common House, where I didn't really know anybody. I went by myself. And so the first thing I did was go and get a glass of wine.
Yeah.
But that's all I had.
It gives you something to do with your hands, too.
Yeah. But I just had that one glass, which I think is the key.
Yes, that would be the key. You're right. You've unlocked the key.
Yeah. So I think that's how that coping skill has matured.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think that's good. Awesome.
Your turn to answer the question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, probably. I think probably because of some of the work that I was doing in my early to mid 20s, which required abstaining. So I would be working for a period of time where I couldn't drink. I was responsible for health and safety of other lives. And it would upwards of, 75 days.
Yeah.
So I would then, come back to reality and be like, okay, well, and now everybody's hanging out and we're kind of debriefing and we've had these shared experiences, and it usually happened over drinks, and it would be for a little while. So I was probably more on the I called the ebb and flow. It's probably more classified as like binge drinking, because I would be sober for a very extended period of time, and then in a short period of time I would be consuming large quantities of alcohol before then again being sober.
Right.
Because I was working full time, and so like it would only be for short periods of time, but there was definitely elevated alcohol consumption when I wasn't working.
Yeah.
So it'd be like 5 days or 10 days or whatever, and it was definitely be like, oh, I have a drink every day, or I have a couple drinks every day, because I'm not doing anything else. I was working for 75 days straight.
Right.
And so that definitely led to that weird kind of like in between of like, well, I don't really
What else do I have to do?
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with alcohol. I can quit anytime. Like I go these long stretches, it's not a problem.
Right.
But not understanding that coming back and then like escalating and ramping that consumption up really quickly was a problem.
Right.
I did come to that realization eventually. But it took a little bit.
Yeah. Well, those developing brains.
Yeah, exactly. So that was, and again, I'm a very social person, and so it does tend to have a very social component to it for a lot of people, where they're not just sitting at home, drinking an entire bottle of Jack Daniels, but it's when they're out with people and everyone else is partaking, or here, try this, or oh, hey, do you want me to grab you another one? So I think that definitely played into it.
Yeah. And if I'm thinking of the correct job, it was a very communal situation too, like living situation. You're all hanging out, living and working together, and then.
And some of those people you wouldn't see because like you were with a smaller group during that time. So you come back to this communal living situation where everybody had a shared experience, but not necessarily together. Like you were maybe working in a team of 2 or 3.
And then you're commiserating and drinking and maybe doing a little bitching about
maybe
experiencing,
or just saying like, "Did you have this wackadoodle?"
Did you hear about that?
Did you hear about that time?
Did you see that moose?
That was one hell of a moose, let me tell you. So definitely, it was multifactorial for sure, but it was probably a problem at the time.
Yeah,
and again, hindsight. Right.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't think of it as a problem at the time.
Well, no.
Later.
Of course not.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was living through it, I was like, yeah, this is what we do in our early 20s.
Because everyone else is doing it.
Looking back now and having the better relationships and friendships that I have now that are healthier and not quite as dramatic as they were in my early 20s. Yeah. It was a time. It was a time that I lived through. And here we are.
Doing a podcast about it.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Hi, Mom.
Love that.
Because Debbie has started listening again. I think she's got it in her calendar.
Yes. Debbie, it's Wednesdays. That's when we come out. Just one a week. It's just Wednesday.
I told you that she got herself a hatch after our episode.
Yes. Also, Hatch needs to sponsor us. We have so many good recommendations.
We do. And people are taking them. My mother went and bought the sunrise alarm that Sydney was talking about during our sleep episode, because we both have one and they're great. And she's very excited.
Great.
Yeah.
Tell all your friends to go listen to our podcast, Debbie. All your coworkers. They don't even need to be friends. Just mild acquaintances.
If you really want to torture people, go tell your enemies to go listen to us.
Right. There you go.
Okay, so there are lots of ways to enjoy the holidays and special occasions, like my birthday that's coming out soon.
Which, by the way, I'm taking her to a whiskey bar.
Only because I complain every year around this time of year.
For your birthday, because everybody overindulges during the holidays. I understand. I get it. All of my friends apparently are born in the month of December and January.
Well, then you should be used to it.
I am. That's why I have tried for the last several years to...
It's been like 2 years.
Okay. Drink your scotch.
Yes. So my other early January babies, I feel you. It's a tough time to be born. Because everyone celebrates the holidays and then are like, oh shit, I have had too much to drink. I have spent too much money. I can't do anything for the next 2 months. And then my birthday's there and they're like, no, we're not doing anything. We're not drinking. We're not eating. We're not living anymore.
Not living anymore. We're crawling into a hobbit hole. Actually, to be fair, hobbits eat and drink a lot, so.
I know, I'm down for that.
Yeah, right.
Okay, anyways. So there are lots of ways to enjoy the holidays and celebrate while drinking responsibly or avoiding it altogether, like if that's where you're going. So there are lots of non-alcoholic beers available. I know Sid has some that you like.
Yeah, I really like
Let's
Athletic.
plug another brand here.
Athletic Brewing. What I like about them is they don't just do one style of beer. So they, if you like different styles of beers, like stouts,
I saw that they came out with a stout.
Yeah, wheat beers or IPAs, they have that because a lot of non-alcoholic beers for a very long time was relegated to like, here's a lager. It is light and crisp and has no flavor. But Athletic is doing really cool things. They make sure that there's a lot of variety. It comes in a cool can. You're not afraid to like show the label. I know like some friends who are sober friends, like they would order like an O'Doul's at a bar and like peel the label off so it looked like, because like it's not cool and it doesn't taste good.
Well,
like, but now
that's the factor that I'm judging them on.
Yeah, there's so many non-alcoholic beers now that taste really good, and they've spent the time to like make them accessible and yummy, and so you don't feel like that person standing in the corner. And maybe you're drinking a non-alcoholic because you're running a half marathon in the morning.
Right.
Not that you have a drinking problem, but just that you want to be able to like function the next day. No. Right? Or
maybe you just don't like alcohol, and that's okay.
Yeah. But now you have something that tastes good.
Right.
There's a lot of ones that taste good.
Yeah. The only way I'm judging a person that doesn't drink is if they're drinking something that doesn't taste good.
Yeah, right.
Like just drink something good.
Yeah.
Anyways, so there's lots of non-alcoholic beers that you can get at the grocery store, at restaurants, or bars, I guess. Is typically where you might find those. You can also get or make mocktails. DM Sydney, she's been into the cocktails. I'm sure she can come up with something for you.
There's some really great mocktails. Like bars are getting really into it.
It's such a good idea. Like, I love a good cocktail. If I wasn't drinking for whatever reason, like why should I have to miss out?
Yeah, exactly.
On a fun drink.
Make it taste good.
Yeah.
Just don't put any alcohol in it.
Right? Give me a fun drink.
Yeah.
So I loved Shirley Temples when I was a kid.
Same.
Because they were so delicious and you got all the cherries.
Shout out to my brother-in-law who loves strawberry daiquiris.
Yes.
Easy to make that without any rum in it, and it still tastes delicious.
Love a strawberry daiquiri.
Yeah.
And a Shirley Temple.
Yep.
Cool. So non-alcoholic beers and mocktails are a good option if you are not drinking or just want to have like a drink and then switch.
Yeah.
You can also space out your drinks. A good rule of thumb is 1 per hour with water in between. And that'll ensure your system has time to process the alcohol. You can find events where alcohol is limited or not available. Those are usually pretty kid-friendly, so I don't know if I'd advise that one, but to each their own. Do what you got to do. You can also attend events. Oh, no. Wait.
Yeah. You can attend events with a sober friend or a designated driver. That has shown to lower or decrease your consumption.
Yes.
So that if you're just like trying to like hack the system, that's a way to do it. It's like, oh, well, I'm not going to drink as much because like I feel bad for my DD or my sober friend is here and I want to make sure that I'm being supportive of them.
Right. Yes. I kept starting that sentence wrong to get to where it ends.
That's okay. That happens. You almost finished your scotch. We understand.
It's delicious. Gonna have to feed me dinner. Yeah. So those are our notes on that.
Yeah. Alcohol. It's
delicious.
But
drink responsibly.
But drink responsibly. Somebody should sponsor us.
Right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It'll be a new year when our next episode comes out.
It will be.
Isn't that crazy?
It's bananas.
BANANAS.
Yeah. So keep listening. Hopefully we haven't lost you. I don't again, wasn't keeping track of the time. I hope you, let's see, this is coming out after Christmas. So hopefully you've had a lovely Christmas if that is what you celebrate, or wonderful other holidays. I heard or I read somewhere online someone who doesn't wish a happy holiday or Christmas. They wish you a gentle holiday because the holidays are not always happy for people. So we hope they're treating you gently.
I always just say cheers like I'm British. Cheers, mate. How can you take that wrong? You can't. And it works really well when you're talking about alcohol. Cheers.
So go follow us, like us, rate us on all the things.
Leave us a comment. Yeah. DM us. Do all the things.
You can listen on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. You can watch the video on YouTube.
And if you haven't watched it, we've had to pet my dog the entire time because he's very sad.
He's a whiny boy.
In our lap. So, there
you can follow us on social media.
Yep.
At ShieldMaidenTC on Instagram and TikTok. At SMTCRVA on Facebook.
It's a mouthful.
And it's different because Facebook.
Thanks, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.